You want to wake up in the morning, so you set the alarm, you go to sleep, the alarm comes off, you wake up, you press the snooze button, you go back to sleep. A few minutes later, it comes off again, you press the snooze button, again you go back to sleep. Now you do that a few times, and eventually you wake up and you get going with the motions of the day till about noon or early afternoon time, when you start to realize that you are falling behind on all the activities. You still are not catching up. And that's when guilt kicks in and you start telling yourself, I should have used my morning better. I should have gotten up a little bit earlier. And you resolve it by telling yourself that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. And again, you set the alarm, you go to sleep, you repeat the same thing over and over again. And this pattern is not ending. If that's who you are, this video is for you. Myself, I've been there. I've seen several people who were also there, so you're not alone. So what I'm doing on this video is I'm ending this procrastination with a simple 5-minute early morning routine. A routine that now I use, and I have been using it for 7 months now. And I'll tell you, I'm coming from two credible places. And one is that I'm using it myself, and it has created incredible outcomes for me. And then I've already tested it with several of my clients, working for them. And then also along, as we go along on this video, I'll be sharing some, credible sources from where I collected this information. So there are 5 steps, even though I call it a 5-minute morning ritual, there are 5 steps to it. Now you can do all 5 of them, or you can do 2 of them or 3 of them. The sequence doesn't matter. What matters is that you are intentional about it. So what I'll do is I'm going to speak as if these are the steps, and I'll tell you the order in which I do it. You pick and choose whichever one makes sense to you. But the idea is this: once you figure out the combination, whether you want to do all 5 or 3 or 2, whatever, and then you figure out you want to do it for 3 minutes or 2 minutes or 15 minutes, eventually you will zone in and you will find that one thing that works for you. So that's the idea. You derive what works for you from this model. So consider this as a model, and this model works. And that's why I'm doing this. So let's get into this. The step one, the first step in this model is the minute I wake up, I breathe. And I breathe for about 60 seconds. Now, breathing does 3 specific things. Number one, it cuts down the cortisol level, reduces the cortisol level. Seriously. And cortisol is responsible for stress. That's a stress hormone. It reduces that. Then it also calms down the amygdala area of the brain, which we call in normal words, that's the area we call the fear center of the brain. And then it activates another area of the brain, which is known as the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and parasympathetic nervous system does amazing things to our system or to our body. It regulates our breath. I believe it also regulates our heart function. I know for sure it regulates the digestion, and as well as the resting, the sleep and the resting of the body and things like that. So it's a very a significant and a very pivotal component of the nervous system. So these 3 things, breathing. Now, the minute we talk about breathing or the breath, there are so many courses and seminars and workshops and so many experts within the space. You can follow anyone, any modality, any technique. But bottom line is this. There is a set pattern through which you have to inhale, a set pattern through which you exhale, and there is a set pattern through which you hold. That's all there is to this. So the way I have done in the past is I do what is called 3-3-3 or 4-4-4, and now I'm doing this 4-4-4-4. I'll walk you through this. I inhale for a count of 4, and then I hold the breath for a count of 4, and then I exhale for a count of 4, and then I pause for a count of 4 before I go back to inhaling again. So that loop continues for about 60 seconds. That's how I do it. You figure out how you want to do it. And there was a study from Yale Medicine School, I believe. It says that breathing reduces stress anyway. We already know that. But it also increases the decision-making power. It increases the decision-making power. So if you are struggling with decision-making, then maybe the answer is you need to start breathing. Okay. So that's the step number 1. Step number 2 in this process, which I do, is I get up and I start moving. I move the body. 2 things happen when we do that. In fact, moving the body is not exercising. It's just like getting up and walking around. Now, what we want to do, the first thing we want to do before the cortisol kicks in, we want to have dopamine kick in. Dopamine is the happy hormone. So get up and walk. So we suppress the cortisol with breathing or reduced it, and then we need to now suddenly kick in the dopamine levels up. So the minute you get up and move, 2 hormones actually get released. One is the dopamine, and the second one is norepinephrine. So dopamine, norepinephrine, they get released into the bloodstream, and these 2 are responsible for motivation and focus. So dopamine, norepinephrine, they also, when they get released, suddenly you have an energy spike, and that energy spike eliminates activation hesitation. You're hesitating, it eliminates that. Harvard School of Medicine did a study on this, and they say when the dopamine releases, it primes the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for task execution. So if you have things you want to do, you have a list of things to do and you don't do them, that's where the issue is. Okay. Step 3 is interesting. My step 3 is at that moment I sit down and I write down 3 things that are a priority for me for the day. I want to accomplish those 3 things. I write them down. And I write many things, but those 3 things I do, the top 3 priorities of the day. And the idea behind that is that I want to narrow the cognitive load. There are too many things in my mind. I don't know where to start, what to do. The only way I can narrow them down is by writing. So I narrowed the cognitive load to just 3 things that I want to do. Okay. And it also increases intentionality for getting things done. You see, the brain is overwhelmed. So and the idea behind writing is that I'm going to overload an overwhelmed brain with clarity. So I'm loading the brain with clarity. That's all I'm doing. American Psychological Association, they say that in one of the studies, they say that when you prime your goals, you boost productivity and task completion. So writing is priming the goals, more or less. So that's my step number 3. And step number 4 is a little different. And this is reading out an affirmation loud. Okay. So if you have affirmations that you have written, or one or more affirmations, then you sit down and you read them loud for about 60 seconds. Now, when you read a self-affirmation loud, there are 2 things that will happen. One is you activate the neural circuits you activate the auditory neural circuits, and you also activate the motor neural circuits. Now, without going deep and technical about this, in essence, you are reinforcing your belief system by doing it. whatever your belief system is. You're strengthening the belief system. That's the best way to put it. Now, if you go back historically and you look at all the different philosophies and the religions of the world, historically, and even to this date, prayers and chantings are essential components of many philosophies and religions. And by saying self-affirmations loud, by chanting, by praying loud, I'm putting all these three things in one category. By doing that, you are shutting down the inner critic. And the other beneficial thing from this is you are building new neural pathways. There is an UCLA study that says that when you do self-affirmations, when you read out self-affirmations, you are activating the reward center of the brain. The last step or the last minute of this 5-minute morning routine is visualization. This step, very, very critical, and critical because so far we are dealing with what, like we are reducing something, increasing something, and things like that. But this is the one where we are preempting success. So visualization activates the part of the brain that believes that it has already accomplished the task. So when you step into really doing the task, you have effectively removed the fear of action at that point. So if you study the Olympic athletes or the Navy SEALs, they all practice visualization. The only reason is to enhance performance. That's it. That's the only reason why they do it. There is a National Institute of Health. They did a study. They said that when you do mental rehearsal, that's what visualization is. When you do mental rehearsal, you are increasing your performance and confidence. Interesting. So those are the 5 steps. If I have to sum up all these 5 steps into one statement, it's very simple. See, procrastination is not laziness. Procrastination is a survival mechanism of an overstimulated brain. That's it. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Let me ask you a question. Which step would you be doing tomorrow? All 5? Just one? Which one? Do me a favor. If you think somebody is going to benefit from this video, go ahead and share it with them. And if you do, your chances of getting that step done tomorrow increases by 42%. How do I know that? I just made it up. You see, everything else here so far, I quoted different sources and I gave some scientific information about all these different things, but this 42%, I just made it up. Okay, so you get the idea. I hope this video was helpful. If it is, then do me a favor. Or if it was, then do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to this channel so that I can be in front of you. The idea is that, if you like, if you share, if you subscribe, I can reach more people. I can reach you more often. That's the idea, to kick off the algorithm and all that stuff. Okay, so that's all for now. Wherever you are, you be safe, and I will be here back again on my channel as early as tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.